We're live. It's the Challenge Insiders back again to talk about the Challenge Season 37, Episode 1. And I'm going to introduce the first person here on my list today, Chantal. How are you
Yes.
doing?
Thank you. Thank you for it being a good start. I'm so happy because, I had my reservations, of course. I'm always Team OG. I'm always eye rolling when they're bringing in all these new people. And I'm sorry, but I love all the new people. I'm here for the new people. I want to see what they're going to be bringing to this show. I think I'm really liking the casting, and I'm so excited for this season, even if it's going to be 6 months of my life.
Yes, 100%. What did you think of the new people overall? Who's your favorite so far, Chantal? And did you find the accents to be very difficult to understand?
No accents, no. I mean, my dad and his side of the family are from England, so I've always had to have an ear for accents. I speak other languages, so I pick up sounds. And I sang as well, so I'm okay with accents for sure. Who's my favorite? How can I choose? I can't think off the top of my head. Talk to Drew for a second, and then I'll think of somebody. Let me look.
No problem. So let's go to the second person here as a co-host for the Challenge Insiders this season, Drew Angel Cake. Drew, how are you today? And do you have a favorite so far with the new people coming on board?
I'm doing pretty great. I'm happy to be here. I'm just letting everybody know that while we're doing this podcast, I'm writing down a list. I'm gonna be checking it, and I'm gonna be really listening in really closely to everybody. I might be throwing people into the elimination or figure out who I can trust and not trust. I'd say right off the bat, I have to throw in Corey L as an early favorite to me. I thought he did great being put into an elimination that he wasn't really in the middle of any of the controversy or with anything of the list. He kind of was just thrown in. I know he was pissed, but he didn't let that bother him. He just took care of business with 3 people on his back. So I have to say that he really impressed me this first episode, and I'm really excited to see what he can do moving forward in this game.
Well, speaking of the list that you have over here, I did hear that she did, it was true that she did have the other list, and she had multiple lists in order for her to be like, no, it wasn't that list. And so she did mess up. And what I don't understand, though, I know we're going to talk about it more, but just to bring us back to Survivor, where she basically got caught for the same thing, where she was writing in the sand, and she's showing people how smart she was and how she was figuring out all these different things, and people were like, oh, she's taking this a bit seriously and she's really smart, let's get her out. She didn't learn. Instead of writing in the sand, she actually gets a piece of pen and paper. Come on, Michaela. This is definitely a rookie mistake, but she's not a rookie. She should know better.
Well, while we're on the topic, Emmy, was it the right move for her to go and let the veterans know about this? Because, I love Emmy as a player. She seems like a lot of fun. She's a very strong woman. She's going to be, I think, a competitor this season, probably a bit of a beast. But, to go and backstab your fellow Survivor players and newbies this early in the game, is that the right move? I know that, Anissa had power, so that probably sort of persuaded her to go that way as well. She felt like she was in with Emmanuel, who probably is, not Emmanuel, who is the Logan on there, is a really good friend of hers or gets along with her really well. So she probably felt that she had some safety there within that group, within that partnership. But do we think that was the right move? Because for me, personally, I kind of feel like Emmy made herself a really big target here moving forward in the game, and she's going to be on people's radars.
Yeah, I think that Emmy is just team chaos. I don't think she's really there to win the game. I think that you see it in our confessional. She's like, where's the drama? I want the drama to happen. That's what she is looking for. And she's trying to find ways to make that happen. So she's very chaotic, and it's very fascinating to watch, but I just don't see the type of players that are playing this game that they will be able to have her around for that long, because there's too many people in the game already. I don't think that they'll be able to handle her and not know what she's going to be doing. So I don't think it was a great move for her, but I think her intention is just to make a big name and just be invited back because she's just so messy.
I think the first thing I want to say is that I heard from many people that there was no real Survivor alliance between like even the US survivors together, let alone the pinky promise that we saw in Global Activation. But there wasn't like this camaraderie against for the or the Survivor players, even though everyone's taking note of how many Survivor players there are in the game. There was no real quote unquote Survivor alliance. And in the Aftermath post show, there was talks that the original house vote was going to be Emmy and Coriel. And so Amanda went up to Emmy going, do you have any dirt? Do you have any tea on any other team? And maybe we can persuade the house to do a different vote. So with this information, it kind of makes sense in that context. But when looking just at the edit, it just looked like she was just throwing people under the bus just to do it. And it's just like, whatever. Like, it seemed like she was just like sitting by the pool all by herself. And then Anissa and Tori just walked up on her and she's like, hey, do you guys want to hear about a list that I heard about kind of thing?
It's so funny. I always write down like the episode titles when I'm making like the screen, the what is it called? The thumbnail. And so I was like, why is it called The List? So I'm like, what's the list? What's the list all about? And then when the list came around, I started laughing so hard because I was like, oh, it's this list. That's what it's about. I thought it was just hysterical, my discovery of like, oh, that's why it's called this today.
And it kind of fits the whole, spy theme thing as well. It's like if you've got a hit list of people that you want to take down, it kind of just fits really well with the theme as a whole. Chantal, are you a fan of the tank tops, the singlets that they're bringing in this season?
Yeah, I'm sure. Like
you get to see a little bit more of the gun show,
I never really paid attention to their team uniforms. That was the first time I think I've ever really even addressed them. And so the fact that Nani was like, oh, cute, fashion, like, no, I've never noticed it really before. I'm like, oh, it has your name on it. And it's, a color.
Yeah, I do want to welcome Sam here in the live chat. He says that he's got some tea for us on Nam, so let us know what the tea is on Nam, because obviously we lost Nam throughout the episode. There wasn't really a lot of focus on him throughout the episode. I mean, we only saw him very early on team up with Michelle, which I thought could have been a pretty good team up for him there. And we'll talk a bit more about Michelle as we go through the recap, because I think that Michelle kind of showed us why she's a Survivor winner a few times here. And she's someone that's used to playing from the bottom, so I'm very interested to see how that's going to work out for her through the rest of the series as well. So Sam says basically Big T tested positive for COVID prior to quarantine. They never found it, and people got sick with coughing, the sniffles, and some people tested positive. So I believe that Nam is one of those people that potentially tested positive. I knew that they stopped production at one point, and then they came back and continued on from there. Drew, do you know when exactly that sort of happened? When did they? Is it after this first vote, or are we going to visibly notice that they stopped the show and then bring it back? Because I'm assuming they're going to try and make the show look as smooth as possible, in a sense where if you didn't read some of these things preseason, you wouldn't even have known that this happened.
Yeah, I don't think so, because the way that they did it, I think that what I heard, one of the rumors that I heard is that Big T already left, and then there was a second quarantine, and then people were testing positive, and then Nam was tested, and he was like the last one, and he got too sick. And by the time that they were coming back to start the recording process over again, they just couldn't let him back on to the cast. So he had to stay back. And then I think that this elimination happened. And then this is where we're going to pick up from the rest here is just Ed's coming in and we're just going to go on.
Well, so
it's already happened. Yep.
What I don't understand though is how does Big T leave? And I'm assuming then that Amber is going to be swapping out Big T. You guys just did that like totally in sync.
I know, that was pretty crazy. There was a glitch in the Matrix right there.
Yeah, we're in sync, It's only our second or third podcast doing this together, Drew, but it's like we've been doing it for years, So,
so Big still there. So how does that work?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out in the next couple of episodes exactly with the timeline, unless there's like
got removed after the second quarantine. I'm just trying to think of like what I remember when the rumors were buzzing around. What was the timeline of things?
I think she was removed before the second quarantine, and then things were happening, and then I think that they, I don't know, almost wanted to hit a reset almost, and they just decided to bring her back and kind of go from there, starting at a different position there. is what I kind of understood from what I was hearing. Very minimal of the rumors when everything was filming and stuff. I was just like, I didn't want to even hear anything about the rumors, because once the spoilers start, it's like, we're done. Like, I don't want to see any, I don't want to see any of that. So once I heard there was filming, but when you hear about a shutdown on production, it's like, we got to go. Like, I got to check this out.
I watched that live last night. It was really fun. They were having a good time. Just like,
yeah. So for those that are listening to the audio version of this, we've got Sam here in the chat saying that if you want to know a little bit more about the lockdowns and the quarantines and things like that, go to Michelle and Ashley and Amanda's live Instagram. Apparently they spill a bit more tea in regards to how that worked. And it's interesting because it never addresses what Num had or why Num's been, removed from the game or anything like that. So if you're just the casual person coming into the show, you would have absolutely no idea why he's removed. And I do feel bad for Num because I felt like this was Num's opportunity to come in and prove himself. And I don't know if he gets another opportunity after this, because he wasn't a big character the first time he played. I felt like he probably only barely got onto this season. And I'm a little bit fearful for him in regards to if that's going to be a thing where he gets another opportunity in the future. I also really feel for Tommy if Big T is removed at any stage, because, Tommy, I think, got pretty lucky here in the beginning part when he got Big T as a partner, because he's coming into the season as a winner of Survivor. Survivor clearly has a target on them this year, because people know that Survivor players are good at politicking and sort of backstabbing. It's something like Corey tells Michelle in the house. It's something that people glorify backstabbing within the game of Survivor, but not so much in the challenge. Which is interesting because, there's been some big backstabbing in the challenge over the years as well. But there's a massive target on these guys, and I felt like Big T could have potentially helped him. But one of the other things I wanted to discuss, and I'm happy with the format we're going here. Let's keep it loose. Let's talk about the big stuff, that's exciting to talk about, because this first episode, the challenge was such a small portion of the actual show. Let's talk about the format and how things are going to be played this year. We find out that, that they're going to be able to select individual. The agency is going to be there. The agency is going to be safe. In this first challenge, Anissa wins the first challenge again. It's become a normal thing for Anissa now to win the first challenge. Her and Logan look really good together. Logan understands that he needs to motivate her and work with her throughout the challenge. So he's not going to be like a Fessy type of partner for her, which I think is going to be really good for Anissa. They win this first one. They find out they're the agency, which is kind of like being the double agents last year. They're safe. They can nominate someone to go down. But then the big twist here is that they can nominate individual people. They don't need to nominate pairs. How do we think that's going to affect the gameplay this year? Because now the rookies that thought that they were going to be safe with certain veterans, they're potentially at risk, right?
Yeah, I love this way more than I'll ever love a skull twist. I like the fact that you're really not safe. You're not safe, like if you're a rookie, you're not safe by the vet that you're with, and vice versa, like depending on who wins the power. And so I like that people can be selective, and I like that people can F up their partnership. And so with that, you don't need to go choose the CT right now. You don't need the big guns. Like, you can just try to make it as far as you can with whomever, and then go for infiltrating and maybe getting yourself thrown in or something like that, so you can choose your partner when you get closer to the end. So I really like this format. I think that they took the good stuff about last season and brought it to this season and got rid of some of the crappy stuff.
I think I initially liked the idea of the twist, but as I keep going on and thinking about it, I don't know if I'm in love with it at the moment, because I think if this was more like last season's cast, where it's 20 veterans and 10 rookies coming into this, I feel like they don't have too many weeks to hide behind how many rookies they can throw into the elimination. With this, they have a plethora, so they don't need to cutthroat each other for a long time down the road if they don't want to. So I almost feel like, what is the point of the partners except for in the missions? And then once you're out of the missions, your social game is solo, your vote is solo, and you can be picked whenever. So I like the unpredictability. I just feel like it could be predictable for the next couple of weeks if the vets are still because the rookies aren't working together. So the vets are going to be working together. And so if they're even one vet is in the agency, they can just be like, well, we're just going to put in these two rookies. And the rookies guy is going to be like, sure, let's just do that. It's fine as long as it's not my best friend. Or kind of like how we saw Logan. Logan's cool with Emmy, but he'll say anybody else's name. He'll say Michelle's name. So at the moment, I don't know if I'm in love with it, I'm a little hesitant, but I do like that there is a twist.
I like it just so much better than that damn skull twist. Than anything, I'm just
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you for this. And also I like that if you have a crappy partner, you're not really stuck with them, necessarily. Or people might come and steal you and you might get with somebody else. And then it could be scary. You might not be like, oh my God, I don't want them to pick me. I don't want them to pick me. So that's another thing too. I think social games will have to be kicked up a notch, especially for the vets, because people, if you're going to be throwing down all those rookies, there's going to be a rookie that wins, right? And they might decide to change their fate and go and try to get in with the the vets. So I do think that a little element of strategy can still come in there, even a little bit more earlier than you're anticipating, Drew.
I'm hoping that Nelson and Corey decide that they're just going to throw in Fessy and let's get it over with.
I was going to say that.
I was
going to say that. The one thing that will make the season interesting is if Nelson was to win early on, because I think Fessy really wants to prove himself to Nelson this season, and he really wants to get back into the good graces of Nelson to a certain degree. But I think Nelson, from what we've seen in this episode, he is not going to let this go. So if he gets an opportunity to say Fessy's name, I reckon he's going to put him in, and I don't think Nelson is going to play kumbaya with the rest of them. I do want to talk about the early stages here, though, because we see the two rookie girls who get there first. They choose Corey and Nelson, which just so happens to be the two people that Drew and myself picked as well. I think, Chantel, you went CT first, then Drew went for Nelson, and I went for Corey in this situation. And both girls wanted to get Corey. Priscilla and who was
Bettina.
The other girl that was... Bettina. They both wanted to get Corey. Bettina ends up getting him, and then Priscilla, yes, the laugh. We'll talk about that. And she goes for Corey in this situation. And Corey, he's played the show so many times, but he doesn't realize that he needs to look at the numbers and the letters on these blocks when it comes to the safe.
Corey and Nelson first. That's why. These are reasons why I can't be like, you're my number one pick. Like I can't do it. Everything is inside of me. I'm like, no, you don't do the simplest.
Okay, let's not get all on Corey and Nelson, because there was a lot of people that were not looking at the blocks or anything. I mean, Emmanuel mentioned it when he put the safe down. We had Josh locking up his safe. And there was a lot of people. CT even went back and looked through the rubble with Berna and was like, "What's?"
Remember though, she was like, "Remember these numbers, right?"
Michelle was the smartest one, because when Nam was breaking it, she actually looked at him and said, "Remember some of these numbers. This is probably the combination to this safe that's right here on the ground that we have to carry."
And Michelle is a really good player when it comes to puzzles. It's one of her strengths, even in Survivors. So I think, she's going to be really good at that. She's got a good head on her shoulders. I did want to say, trying to defend yourself by saying Emmanuel, who's a new player in the game, and Josh. I mean, come on, Josh. We don't.
I'm just saying, there's a lot more people that were having struggles. I mean, we get it that Corey and Nelson were having.
Calling them out because you guys are so proud that you picked them first, and they're the first.
I still feel better about Corey. I still feel bitter about Corey at this point.
I will say that I'm glad that I'm glad Nelson got Priscilla, because I love Priscilla and I'm so happy that they're paired up. But man, I felt bad a little bit when Priscilla was like, "Where's Corey? Where's Corey?" And then when she was taking, he was like, "Where's Nelson?" And she's just like, "I'm here." Like, I was like, oh man, plan B right there.
And CT hiding from everyone in the beginning so that no one can pick him. How funny was that? He's like, "I'm scared. I don't know any of these people." He's this big champion that's done this so many times, but he's still sometimes just this little kid, hiding from everyone. But I do feel pretty good about his partner coming in there as well. Betna, I believe her name is, or something like that. And Berna, and she looks like she's in really good shape. We did see in the first episode, the episode 0, before we go into the first episode, that Berna wanted CT from the start. That was the man that she wanted to go for, and I think that she's going to be a big competitor this season as well. We didn't see much of CT and Berna in this episode, which I think potentially could be a good thing for them. CT is the biggest target out there. He has to be. He's just won the last season, and it's going to be interesting when Amber comes into the game, because we know she's coming in at some point. Will she want to work with CT again in the future?
That's what I'm thinking, though, because when you're saying that, it might suck for Tommy because he's with Big T, but I think that the swap out would be Amber is taking, that's what makes sense to me right now. It's going to be either Lauren, he's got the D edit, or it's going to be Big T, who we've heard has had COVID. So I'm thinking that like that's a pretty dominant team. Tommy and Amber, who's actually knows how to win this game. Like, I don't know. I would be interested.
Does she have the social connections though that Big T has? Because I felt like she won last season, but she was kind of lucky in the sense that people forgot about her and they underestimated her as a new player. She was constantly underestimated for someone that could be a threat at the end, and then just it so happens she's good at finals, and she had someone with her that was good at, and Tommy would be good at the puzzles. He would be good at the things that requires a bit more smarts. So yes, it could be a strong pairing, but I just don't know if the social strength is going to be in that alliance like it would be with Big T, because Big T is loved by everyone.
Well, I do think that Tommy, though, I think that he's actually pretty strategic, and I think he'd be like, "Hey, like these Big Brother people, like you're a vet, like you get in there, and like I'll help with the rookies." And I know I think that he might be able to utilize her, but I definitely agree that she got lucky for sure, and she was capable of winning that final. I don't think she would have been able to get there on her own social ability, absolutely. But I think that they could be a good partner.
I just don't think Big T is going to leave on a medical DQ or anything like that. I've looked at some of the trailers, the super trailers. I feel like we see Big T enough in the show. And I think Amber comes in so early that I just don't see the swap out of them. I thought it was going to be Anissa, but then when looking at some of the super trailers, I saw Amber and Anissa together in the same mission at some point. So I have no idea who it could be. I just don't think it's Big T.
Maybe Lauren then as well.
I have no idea. I'm thrown for a loop that Amber's coming in on a Lamborghini nonetheless during a mission. I'm like, what is happening now? I thought I had this game figured out, but nope.
I'm excited.
So I do want to talk about Ashley, guys. She's completely disrespected here early in the season. No one wants to go for her. She's shouting, "Hey, two-time champion over here," and people just ignored her. And I've got to admit, like with Ashley, it's been a love-hate relationship at times with her in regards to, do I like this girl? Do I not like her? But I kind of fall on the side of I actually do like her a lot within the challenge. I think she's a lot of fun. And I felt bad for her, to be honest, not getting selected here as someone that has won this show twice. And I'm wondering, does this have to do with the fact that the people didn't want to choose her because she was out so early in the last season and people just think she's too much of a target or she's not going to go far enough? Or is it maybe because some people know that she took $1 million for herself with her partner and people just don't want to work with someone that potentially will take all the money at the end if given the option? What do you guys think ultimately made people not want to choose Ashley?
Well, I saw, I don't know if it was something that was doctored or not, but there was a post somewhere on social media that said that her stats, like her elimination stats, were actually incorrect. And so it is potentially that she looks like she wouldn't be someone that would be good to go down into, what's it called? The
lair.
The lair.
Yeah.
And so that could be part of it. Cause like, yeah, it makes you two-time champ, but if it said maybe 2 to something, it was like a very bad ratio of wins that wasn't actually her stats. And so that could have been something that they were looking at.
I blame Kyle no matter what. He stood up. He was the professor on everybody. Everybody was asking him questions, and we saw him being like, "Oh, well, Ashley's really strong. She's probably the smartest girl here, but she's a viper when it comes to like all that stuff." So, I mean, whatever happens and why people were going the way they were, I just blame Kyle, even though it's not his fault. It's probably them taking the $1 million from their partners. But
Kyle had a great confessional as well when he ran down to get his partner, and he was stuck between Amber and who was the other Amber? Sorry, Nani and so it was Nani. It was Nani and Amanda, I believe.
Amanda.
And he was like, it was Nani and Amanda, and he's like, it's either choose this person or that person. I'd rather run into the ocean, but I'll choose the spawn of Satan, which I just thought brilliant. Like Kyle he is so good when it comes to confessionals. I'm really enjoying him. I did secretly want to pick him in my team. I know, Chantal, you ended up getting him, but I was hoping that I could get him a bit later than I did. So, he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in this season. But I do want to talk about this partnership between Yui and Ashley. I think it's going to be the hot mess of the season. Ashley's out of there as soon as she gets an opportunity, but Yui talks a lot. He talks more than Ashley throughout the challenge, and he's asking her, where are you from and all these things, and she's like, I'm from your hell, because she's so competitive and wants to win this. so much fun seeing that. Guys, who else in these early stages in the partnership sort of stood out for you? And do you believe is a partnership that potentially could do well? Obviously, there was the really fun dynamic between Gabo and Nani.
That's
I
what
don't
I was
think there
gonna
was
say.
any strategy in that.
When you said good, I was like, oh no, I don't think they're gonna be good. Nani has the patience of a saint. Like when she's like, I chose you because you're pretty, and she's like,
and you're going to be my girl.
okay.
And he's like claiming her.
And she's the poor girl, and Nani's like, oh man, I just wanted to have a good shot at winning this thing, but now I got this partner, but I'll be nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're talking about Ashley wanting to get out of there, I could just see it in Nani's face going like, we got to get Gabo in there. Like, get Gabo in, get him out, and get me a new partner, please. Like,
she's like,
yeah,
anybody
100%.
He would, I would say, would be the worst person to be partnered with because he doesn't know the show at all. I mean, I thought it was funny when he was like, who's that little man on TV? And I was just like, he doesn't even know who TJ is. So he has not watched an episode or season, like, at all. So
I'm loving it, though, personally. I think it's funny. I think it's funny watching him, like he admits that he's got popcorn muscles. Who admits they've got popcorn muscles going on to the show? And he's like, oh, yeah, I work out a lot. I train a lot. I party a lot, but I don't really do these types of athletic shows. Like I do have muscles, but it's all popcorn muscles, and it's just, you've got to kind of laugh at him and with him at certain things. And I think he's gonna be funny to watch on the show. I don't know how far he's gonna go in the show, but I'm here for it. I'm enjoying it.
I just feel bad for Nani because I think that she's like, okay, like I can get to the final now, and she's like in her little relationship with Casey, so she has like somebody that's supporting her, that's in the game with her, and then she has like that partner. She's probably just like, I thought I was gonna do so much better, and now there's gonna be so much more work.
Now, Chantel, as the Love Island expert on the panel here today, we've got a couple of different romances blooming in the show early on here. One that I don't know if we should or should not talk about. It's the Fessy Amanda one, Corey spotting them, really funny scene with him laughing at them from the balcony. And then the other one being between Nelson and Ashley. What do we think? And also Emmanuel and Michelle potentially. Emmanuel has got his eyes on Michelle. What should we expect from these different romances on the show? And which one do you think is doomed? Like, I've got my prediction on which one I think is going to bring a lot of drama for us throughout the season. I think there was a bit of foreshadowing in this episode. But, what can we expect from these different couples within the show? And how will it mix things up?
I think the doomed couple is dear old Nelson and Ashley. Because if Ashley gets drunk and Nelson is Nelson, and he does any sort of looking, flirting at anybody else, like the spawn of Satan is going to be Ashley, not Amanda. This is always what's happened with Ashley. If she's dating someone or someone that she likes or says that she doesn't like, and then she gets drunk and they do something that she doesn't like, her head starts spinning and she just like rage. So I think that 100% Ashley and Nelson are going to be a hot mess.
Let's go back to a flashback of Rivals 3 where she's in the bathroom yelling about Jamie like dancing with Nicole or whispering to Nicole. Like, my goodness.
That like got so big, that fight. And Nicole's just like,
I just want pee.
I did find the whole dynamic between Fessy and Amanda to be really funny, where she's like insulting him, kissing him, and he's like, babe, and she's like, don't call me babe, call me brah, and I just found that so funny, that whole dynamic between the two. And that's going to really complicate things between that, Nelson, Corey, Fessy, Amanda type of trio, because Amanda is like a little sister to Nelson. Nelson doesn't really like Fessy, doesn't want to work with Fessy this season. So a lot of the relationships that are happening, I feel like is going to add a lot of spice to. I don't normally like the relationship type of stuff. You know me, Chantal, I like the challenges. I like the athletic stuff, but this is going to be cool. I think it's going to bring a lot of drama to the show. And I'm really interested to see what's going to happen here between Emmanuel and Michelle, because Michelle is like, she's thinking competition guy. So we know, something there potentially is going to happen. And then the one that we didn't talk about, which I kind of forgot about, I just saw it on my notes, was Cal's and Tori. Cal's wanting to be with Tori, giving her a little kiss on the head. Tori saying that, this is gonna be the first time ever that I'm gonna play a challenge without a guy, and God's messing with me. And the editors brilliantly does that voice in there to say, I can't remember what the voice was, but it was really, really funny how they did it. And Kels is looking like he's gonna be a beast this season. But how's this one gonna play out? Because Tori and guys within the show, it's always a bit of a hot mess. Let's be honest. Drew, you look like you wanted to say something on this relationship.
I think Corey L did Kels a favor by taking her away from him. Like, come on, Kels, do not get wrapped up in the Tori train. Don't do it. Like, just focus on the game, please. I don't need another competitor that I was looking forward to having on the show get wrapped up in something, a controversy or anything, and getting sent into the elimination early. Like, we just lost Michaela. I do not want to see Kels in the elimination because he's pushing too hard with head kisses on Tori, or Tori is like, I want to get this guy out. Like, I don't want anything to happen with Kels. So please, Corey L, keep Tori on one side of the house, and Kels can go work out and hang out and talk about getting all the veterans out, please. Like, I want to see that manifest.
I don't know what's going to happen, though, because it doesn't. I mean, I haven't seen, obviously, very many episodes yet, of course, but I don't know who he's going to build that with. I don't know if he has that strategic side. I know he's played a lot of, obviously, sports, but he came from Too Hot to Handle. And so I just don't know strategically if he's going to be able to gather the army to take down the vets. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what he does, but I just don't know if he's got those chops. And so maybe he needs a Tori type to just kind of usher him a little bit for him to understand how to play this particular game.
So it's interesting because we see Kels, Jeremiah, and Coriel all working out together, form this new young group of guys that are super athletic. They all look like they're really going to be good socially. Kels, for me, coming into this, I had no opinion about him. I didn't even know where I was going to pick him, but I've been more impressed by him. Like, I know he's getting involved in the whole Tory thing and all that, and that could be dangerous for his game, but I do think this guy is a beast. Like, if he talks a big game, he says, I'm one of the smartest guys out here. I've got, things to prove how smart I am. I'm physically and athletically really good. I'm an athlete. He looks like an athlete. I mean, there's not many people I would say could go up in a hall brawl and probably physically be up to the level of Fessy. But this guy could potentially be physically up to that level. The only difference is that, Fessy trained to put people down and to run over people. So that does make a big difference when it comes to this.
He played American football as well.
I did. Kels play it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Corey L did.
And
Corey L did.
Kels did. Kels 100% did. They showed a picture of him in his football gear, and he's 6'6". So I think that he for sure can take down Fessy.
Awesome. Well, I'm liking it. I'm liking having him in there. I like this young new dynamic between these guys that are forming there. But we do see in the same sort of scene, we see Corey running down the hill. They're giving him a little bit of stick for running downhill. He's like, yeah, just running down and then going to go back up. And Corey's become the veteran here that is saying that I'm be damned if I'm going to let one of the young guys take it over. How funny is it to have Corey be one of the young bucks who came in a couple of years ago and was one of the people that were threatening the Johnny Bananas and all the rest of the crew of the world. And now he's the person who's got to, hold the torch for the challenge world here. Chantel, I know you give Corey a lot of flack, but this must be something that sort of resonated with you. And you're like, because I know you're an OG, you love the veterans, you don't always necessarily like this many new people coming into the show. How do you feel about Corey being the person that's going to carry the torch here this season to try and prevent these young guys from taking over?
I think that Corey is going to end up getting in with them because I think that I saw in maybe it was Aftermath him talking about Jeremiah. Oh no, Nelson said that Jeremiah was saying that he really wanted to be part of Team Young Bucks, and so I see Corey being the idol that people want to those young guys want to learn from, and he kind of show them the ropes. So I do feel that he's going to fit in kind of the older brother to these new guys, and I think that he's going to work with them. That's my thoughts.
I first want to petition that Team Young Bucks need to just be the Bucks, because guess what? They've been in this game for 8 or 9 seasons now. Now we got Jeremiah, Corey L, and Kels talking. This is how TYB was formed. This is the new TYB. Exactly. And Corey and Nelson, and whenever Hunter, if Hunter ever comes back, they're just the Bucks now. They aren't the Young Bucks anymore. I mean, but one thing I want to talk about with Kels is that, you were mentioning that he is such a beast and he's coming in, but like Chantel said, that he's coming in from too hot to handle. He's only one person from one show. He is physically kind of like Fessy, but Fessy had the advantage of coming in with way more Big Brother players and being able to stretch even those numbers into more social games and more social circles. He was able to get like a nice circle around him, whereas we're coming into this season and everybody is gunning after the rookies. It's not like Wes is in the house getting all the rookies together and kind of like making a bubble wrap of rookies around him, but also like keeping them under his wing, kind of being like, this is what you want to say, this is what you don't want to say, talk to this person, but don't say this. Everybody's coming in and they're just automatically getting gunned for, and coming in as one person from one game, it's difficult. So, I mean, it's dealt a bad hand in a season when you have somebody that's physically similar, but coming in with much better numbers advantage every single season, and then being able to have that, like, that padding every single season, to now Fessy's a vet and now he has his own social circles along with Casey and Josh and their friends and their friends. And on top of that, so I think it's interesting, but I just want Kels to last a few more seasons. Come on, give some of these people a little bit more like leeway to come in for more seasons if they go out, whenever they go out.
I think though, what's really to his benefit is the fact that he's from the UK, because I think that Kyle is going to swoop him up, and Big T and Priscilla and anybody else that's from the UK, that maybe Huey, he's from Ireland, you know, and maybe he might build a little like sub-alliance of people from the UK. I can definitely see Kyle doing that. And I can also see Big T doing that, especially with her and maybe Priscilla. And so I think that Kels might be okay because he has some people that are vets that are from the UK that know that they need some numbers and some numbers in rookie. And so I think that he might get a shot there with Kyle making a new sub-alliance.
So Love by You says here, Corey is going to be the new face of the challenge. MTV loves him. He's the only American player with 1 million followers. And I like Corey. You know, should be. I like Corey. I've never seen him in any of the other shows. I've only seen him in the challenge. So I'm sure some of those, you know, the things that people don't like him that much is maybe from some of the other shows that he's in as well. But I really enjoy him. I'm happy with him becoming a bit of the face. We need a new person to step up and become the face for the next 5 to 6 years of the challenge as well. And, you know, it's better than Tori or Anissa becoming that face. Anissa's probably not, you know, Tori is the other person here, Drew, and I know you would have strong feelings here, but she does already the challenge podcast, you know, so, you know, she could be the other person here. I'd rather have Corey be the face.
I just need to comment on that comment, though. The reason why he has 1 million followers is from his girlfriend's ex-girlfriend is on Team Mom OG, and he makes appearances on there. Like, that's the only reason why he got super famous. And then his girlfriend at the time, Taylor, she was from Are You the One? And she ended up being on Team Mom a little bit, and they had some specials, and then she had some racist tweets and stuff that came out, whatever. But, like, it's Teen Mom that actually made him really famous, to be fair.
Kyle has over 1 million as well. I know he's not American, but I know he's got a lot of followers as well. Yeah. So honestly, so Dan says, I honestly think that everyone is going to be gunning for Tracy and Kels early on. Tracy, guys, what do we think about her? Why do we think she's going to be a target this early on in the game?
Because no camera time. No camera time is one. Like, she got nothing. No global activation, no nothing, except for when her partner was stolen. And then she got one thing going like, well, this sucks. And then she got partnered up with Kels, and that was it. So to me, that just shows me that she's not going to last very long if that's the case. I mean, we had 2 episodes already. Nothing. 2.5 hours of information about rookies, and she was nowhere to be seen. I have no idea what's going on with her.
Yeah, it's interesting. And also, we haven't spoken about, you know, the 2 ladies that I selected that I was very proud to select to represent Africa, being a South African myself. I know I don't look like I'm from Africa, but I am, you know, being South African. I've got to support the 2 Nigerian queens who are playing this season as well. You know, Tasha and Esther. I do feel like Esther had probably the strongest first episode here with some really great confessionals throughout the episode. What do you guys think of these 2 coming into the show? And, you know, Esther, she gets Fessy here, but she realizes that it might be a little bit of a landmine that she's walked into with all the hate being shown by Nelson to Fessy. Do we think she's going to be collateral damage? I personally think that Esther, out of those two, is going to be the person that is going to surprise a few people this season.
I couldn't really get a good read on Esther, like on either of Esther or Tasha. But one thing I did notice is that Fessy gave a confessional that was positive about his partner. And I was like, he must have gotten so much hate that he was like, yeah, like my partner, like she just took off sprinting. And I'm like, okay, Fessy, you are trying to rehabilitate your character right now. Okay, I see you. But I'm happy that you're speaking highly of your partner, Esther. So that was good that he wasn't going to be rude and berating her like he's been known to. I hope she does well, and I want to see them do more. I didn't see them that much this episode to really have a full opinion.
I think we see Esther in one of the super trailers being an elimination or something like that with the headgear on or something like that. I'm pretty sure I've seen it somewhere in there. So at some point she's going to get thrown down. But for some other reason here, Drew, I think Esther, I'm hoping that, the comments isn't just him trying to save face and that Esther actually pushed him on that run because she looked like she was doing pretty well in that opening challenge. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt here. What's your opinion about both of these? I feel like Tasha, I don't know about her. I feel like she got a little bit of confessionals there. I think that somewhere down the line, Esther and Tasha are both going to be very calculated political players this season. But I feel like Esther's got a little bit of a thing against Tasha. She's going to try and take Tasha out because of their previous experience playing Big Brother together. And I don't think that they're the biggest of friends.
Just like Chantel said, this is like there's 34 players. Two of which not getting any screen time, but still 32 players in the game. It's just a lot of people, and they're not going to give camera time to every single person, especially when there's bigger drama happening within the house. There's people hooking up. There's a list to be talking about. But I want to say that I think during the offseason, Fessy got a PR person. I think MTV is giving him the good edit in the beginning of this season. I think maybe they feel bad for how much they pushed him as the heel last season, even though I feel like that's just what he was doing and that was what he was trying to accomplish. And now he's like trying not to turn heel, but to turn hero now, to go to wrestling terms. So to me, I think Esther was kicking butt in that challenge, but whether Fessy really meant it or if, I can't tell what his intentions are unless he was to say like I am being facetious. But they definitely put that confessional in there to be like, look him, he's good. He learned his lesson over the 3 months that he was away from the game. But I think it's too early to worry about either one of them. I for one don't get the feel that I don't get the feel like neither one will do bad or good in the game at the moment. Like we said, we haven't gotten a whole lot from them. I think Tasha is going to be way better in the confessionals. I think Esther is so focused on like logic and stats and everything. She just seems so like focused game wise. And I think Tasha is just going to be way much more of like dynamite and a firecracker and much more in the confessionals and having those more iconic moments. Like her just being like, write it down in your mind was like, that one stuck in my mind more than probably majority of the confessionals that were happening in this episode. I can't even really remember besides the one with Esther saying, oh no, did I get messy Fessy kind of thing. But yeah.
And also Tasha's with Jeremiah, and so 2 rookies, and he's a green rookie. Like he just doesn't know. I don't know how well he knows the game, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I just don't know I don't think that they're going to win any of these dailies, and I can see people just deciding to throw them down pretty easily. So
I can see that. 100%. Well, they won't throw them down together, most likely. They'll throw maybe Tasha down on her own with someone else, but because I feel like Jeremiah he looks, they're going to be thinking about when do they take him out, and do they, like if I was in there, I'd throw Jeremiah and Kels against each other, like let one of the big guys take each other out. I don't want to put it out in the universe, but that's kind of the way to go. Rather
did.
Well, luckily this show took place like, a couple of months ago already, so it's not going to change anything here, guys. Like I don't have that much superpowers over what's going to happen in the show, but that would be the smart thing to do in my mind in any case. Now, one group here that we haven't really spoken about at all was my number one girl pick, Casey, and also my number two guy pick, Emmanuel, partnering up here early in the game. What do we think of this? I mean, they were pretty quiet. We didn't see them talk together. Like, we know that Casey is not someone that she doesn't need to have a working relationship when it comes to strategy with her partner. We saw that with Leroy. They hardly ever strategized together, but they came together when it mattered in the competitions. And Emmanuel, we know, is someone that has got a record amount of immunity wins and challenge wins and Survivor, someone that is extremely physically capable. From my research prior to going into the podcast where we did our draft assessment, he looked like he's in that same mold as like a Turbo when it comes to challenges and things like that. We haven't seen enough to know if he's going to be that good in the challenge yet and if it's going to be transferable, but on paper it looks like it's going to be a very strong team here. Obviously both of them have got love goggles, which might make things interesting. Emmanuel having eyes for Michelle, and then we now also see Casey and Nanny, that they're starting to form somewhat of a relationship here as well. Any opinions about these guys at this stage? What do you like? Do you like this pairing? Do you think that they're in it for the long haul?
I think that's a really good pairing. I mean, I was judging people on who they chose and maybe the why, and so I thought it was smart of Emmanuel to choose Casey. She's definitely very strong. The fact that he has eyes for somebody else that's not his partner, I think, is good. That he's not interested in her and she's not interested in him. Like, I think it'll make their working relationship a lot better. I was disappointed in Casey, kind of looking like a lost puppy when they got to the safe first, or bring it back to where they needed to bring it, and she didn't look at the numbers, and she's kind of like staring there like I don't know what to do. So I was just a little bit disappointed that she didn't, I thought she was smarter than that. I thought that she would have maybe gathered that, I should memorize these numbers or whatnot. So that disappointed me with Casey. I thought that they would have stayed first the whole time, and I'd be like, wow, that's a really, really strong and powerful team. But I do still think that I just was just a little bit disappointed that they didn't end up first.
I think it's a really strong pairing. I think that Emmanuel did a post where he talked about how once he got the call for the challenge, he did his homework, he did his prep, he was doing strategy. We know from his Survivor seasons that he's very strategic. And so when coming in, he knew probably that once he had to pick a partner, he knew right in his mind that once he opened up the flap and saw Casey, he was like, oh, I'm glad she's on the season. I'm definitely going to her. They both have they like the same things, like tattoos, and they both are very athletic. I mean, Emmanuel is almost like, I want to call it the challenge build, where he has cardio and he has some muscle, but he isn't like the big buff guy. He's not like the big physical guy. It seems like he'll be good at all these challenges and missions, that the random stuff that they have set up for every day. But when you go out into the world, he's not sitting there benching like 450 pounds. So I think it's interesting. I think it's going to be a good one. And to be partnered up with any of the vets, if he and Casey start winning or doing well with each other, I think she would start to vouch for him, going like, we don't need to get rid of Emmanuel right away. We can pick somebody else. We'll keep him around so I can maybe get some wins underneath my belt. And then we can maybe throw him in down the line, maybe if we need to, or if I not want to win, or if I want to get hooked up with a vet or something. Because now it looks like anybody can be paired up with anybody. After this initial thing, internationals can go with internationals and US can go with US, and she might feel more comfortable going with a US competitor, not Fessy.
It's not Fessy.
We've got some agreement here in the chat saying Emmanuel has the build to win a final, and a very similar build to Jordan. And maybe I think he's probably closer to Jordan than Turbo, because Turbo is quite stocky, even though he's not the tallest of guys out there. But I think immediately when I saw him, I thought similar kind of build to a Jordan. And Jordan's very successful when it comes to the challenge. Sorry, Chantal, I interrupted you there.
No, that's totally fine. I like that he's a dancer. And Michelle was talking about him a lot on her live yesterday. And it seems like they both make it far enough to be talking about each other and maybe go visit, talking. If they just saw each other for 2 weeks, I don't think that they would have this deep of a relationship or friendship or whatnot. She's like, we're just friends. But they talked about him in a way that it seemed like something built to a certain extent. So I feel like both him and Michelle will last a little while.
And we'll talk about that in a split second because I do want to get into the Michelle stuff pretty soon. But I do want to make one observation. I just had a look at my notes and I kind of skipped over this. You know, when they did the $1 million prize and they said that there's going to be $1 million prize, I really enjoyed how they had the different currencies at the bottom for each one of the countries to show how much it would be for these countries, because it does make the show feel that much more inclusive for people that are watching it from Africa, watching it from somewhere in Europe and things like that. So really nice attention to detail. And I am super impressed by the challenge each season when it comes to the editing and the production value of how they're putting this show together. I feel like they're improving for me each season. They're just doing something that, again, you know, it's these small little things, the small little attention to detail things that I really enjoy. And the way that they edit, they know exactly how to do it at this point. They're so good at it. And I do want to give the production team props for adding that little bit in there as well. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about, let's get into the meaty side of it here. You know, we've got 3 US Survivor players playing this game together. 2 of them are very good friends outside of the game. Tommy and Michelle, they're good friends. So even though there was no alliance, they were never going to turn their backs on each other. And Michaela was going to be the person here that's going to fall. And Tommy is more than willing to throw her under the bus. Michelle says she would never say Michaela's name, but if Michaela is out there and it's between her or Michaela, then she's going to defend herself. And we see both of them working very hard here. Tommy saying to Big T, he's happy to write her name down to prove there's no Survivor alliance. Big T is saddened by this because Big T really wanted to work with Michaela. I think like a lot of people, Esther and Tasha both said they wanted to work with Michaela. So clearly there were some people there that really wanted to work with her, and she did make some allies, but it does look like she just played that a little bit too hard. Even that scene in the beginning of the episode where she's sitting down with Renan and they're looking at which couples are talking and who are together, you can just see she was in game mode day one. So she gets caught out. She's done the list. It was super confusing on the show for the longest period of time. I didn't know if the list was real. I'm glad you explained that it was actually a thing, because she had more than one list. Because I kind of felt bad for her, because it kind of felt like she was being thrown under the bus at one point, because she was convincing and saying that she didn't have a list, and it was just to show who were paired together at the end of it here. But we get a bit of a showdown here at Deliberation between Michelle, Tommy, and Michaela.
Wasn't
Chantel,
that
talk us through it.
Deliberation I think it was ever that I've ever seen. Like that, I don't know if you guys agree, but I was like, like my mouth hangover like open. And the fact is how like Michaela just turns to Michelle and just calls her out. I'm like, this is your only ally here, and like you're really just going to just throw her under the bus like that. Michaela, think of anything else. Try to get like somebody else out of here. But she definitely didn't have the votes going in there no matter what. I think that it was pretty close to unanimous before Deliberation even happened. But I was shocked by how explosive that Deliberation was. I think with people being used to tribal councils and like, you know, laying their game out there and what's been going on in the week, like that's kind of energy is coming to these deliberations. And it was spicy. I enjoyed it very much.
I want to say that I love Michaela's intention, because it's something that needed to happen, because all the vets were already gathered together and she knew that we need to get the rookies all together. I don't blame her for wanting to play this game hard. I don't blame her for wanting to get the rookies all together. I think her main downfall was entrusting the people that she entrusted to tell about the list, like telling telling Emmy, telling Michelle and Tommy, who ultimately all turned on her. And and I always want to call it live aftermath, but the aftermath post show, Michaela said going in there, I had the wrong information. I thought Michelle was the one that told everybody about the list. So that's why I went hard at her in the deliberation instead of going after Emmy. I had no idea Emmy was the one that threw it out there going into that. So I thought that was very interesting. I just think I wish she would have told Kells or the 3 guys that were out there working out, because I know they wouldn't have thrown her under the bus. Esther or Tatcha, who really wanted to work with her, maybe Big T, only Big T, but with who she trusted, they played. And this is the thing, Tommy and Michelle played Survivor in the challenge. In Survivor, you can throw your best ally under the bus, get them out, and guess what? That could save me for a couple of weeks. Look, I'm a lone wolf. That doesn't happen in Total Madness. Jay was the only survivor and he got thrown in 3 times in a row. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. You're going to throw your best friend under the bus, your ally. Guess what? You just took a number off of your side. And then we're going to throw you in the next time we want to throw you in, which will be very, very soon. So I was like, kind of disappointed, but I understood where everybody was coming from, because Tommy was like, I'll just throw her under the bus to save ourselves. And I'm like, you can't save yourself. It's over. Like, you can't do that. Not in this game.
The thing is, though, that like I totally hear what you're saying, and like I can agree with that, you know, like where she was coming from there. But I think that she should have just tried to stay for one round. Like, just make it not be her for anybody but me for one round, so she can see who's loyal, see who's strategic, see who can trade information with. I think she kind of had a miscalculation that everybody was going to be playing the game as hard as she was, and didn't realize that they might be playing their own game and might use the information that she's sharing with them. And so I think that she should have taken a little bit more time to get to know people, instead of being like, okay, all your rookies, we're all together, we're in a really tight alliance now, and we're going to be playing this game together, and let's get at one of these bets. Like, yeah, that's logical for sure if I was a game player, but if like not, maybe I like the bets more than I like you. Who are you? So I think that she just was a little bit too early with bringing this information to people that she couldn't trust yet.
And another thing, like, I felt like she did as much as she could in the situation, throwing the target on Michelle, saying Michelle is a previous winner of the show. You know, she's known for someone that is really good at backstabbing her way to the top. I thought she made a really, really strong case in that sense. The one thing she didn't say, and I don't know if it was because she tried to protect Tommy and she had a good relationship with Tommy, because Tommy kind of comes out of left field and protects Michelle. And I saw that coming because they're so close and they kind of ganged up on her here. But what I would have done if I was Michaela, I would have said, these two are great friends outside of the game. Like, why would you want to get rid of me, who's got no one in the game, versus these two that are definitely working together? They're friends outside of the game. They're not going to betray each other. It's kind of like a veteran alliance within the newbies, because you guys have known each other for a long time. These guys have known each other for a long time. That's the only thing she didn't do. But I do think her back was up against the wall. But I was so impressed here by Michaela when it came to being down in the lair, or, you know, going into what is the arena, it's the lair, right? And doing the challenge here. Like, Renan really struggled, you know, didn't really have much of a go there. Yeah, he was on his back, couldn't get his feet on the ground, and, you know, but Michaela, for the longest period of time, was like giving Corey L a go. And let's be honest about this. Corey L is a massive guy, right? And we know Michelle wasn't going to beat Michaela at anything like this, because, you know, Michaela is actually physically really athletic. That was even in her original Survivor seasons. It's one of the things that made her a huge threat. But she really tried to nearly beat a guy here. And it's really just purely, it comes down to genetics. You know, if you're a strong female and a strong man doing a competition where it's about strength, the guy's always going to win. It's just genetics at the end of the day when it comes down to it. That's why you've got female sports and men's sports in most cases. You don't get men and female going up against each other. This was fair in the sense that it was pairs going up against each other, but Michaela did extremely well. That's my point. Like, should she get another opportunity to come back? Because I feel like Michaela is someone that can really deliver in confessionals. She's spicy. She's made a new list. She's got notes of the things that she's done wrong in the future. Do we endorse Michaela getting another shot in the future? And, you know, how spicy would that be to have Michaela come back and have to go up against Michelle again? Because I think Michelle's coming back again if she's making it deep into the show. And I do think that Michelle's going to make it deep into the show, because I think she's a smart enough player that when she loses Tommy eventually, because Tommy will go before her, she'll find a way to get herself a lot deeper into this game.
I definitely think that Michaela is going to be asked back. I believe that she was also in the running to come for World of the Worlds 1 or 2, one of those seasons. And I don't know why she didn't actually make it onto the season, but they've been looking at her for a while. And I think that, yeah, she might have made some mistakes for her particular game this episode, but the episode was all about her. She made this, it was named after the list that she made. And so the fact that, you know, it was all centered around her, unfortunately, she didn't last through it, but I think that she made enough of an impact that people would want to see a redemption arc for her. Maybe they're going to do a Rivals 4 and she'll come back, like, be with Michelle or something. Like, I don't know, but I think that she has huge potential with coming back. What
about Jay? What about Jay? She could come back with Jay.
I don't think Jay's coming back.
Did he do something that bad? Like, I mean, obviously, I don't know.
I didn't really think that they were that bad, but people are very sensitive.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll need to do my research offline about that, because
oh my, an N word to like a friend of his a few years ago, and maybe like quoting singing a song with that word in it. I get it. I think that it should be reprimanded, but I think that I don't think he'll be back on the show for that reason.
Oh
Ooh.
wow, I didn't know the backstory about that at all.
Yeah, I didn't know that about that either.
I'll find it for you. I'll send it to you guys.
We've been
Yeah,
waiting for so long. If you're Survivor fan and the Challenge fan, you've been waiting so long for Michaela to make her Challenge debut, and she delivered in the only 2 episodes that she got this season. And I think that it would be a travesty if she wasn't asked to be back on another season or 2. And if we do a Rivals, I mean, she could be paired up with Michelle, or she could be paired up with Emmy. I mean, why not? Let's pair them up. Guess what? You got the tea spiller and the list holder. Let's put them together and let's see what's going to go down.
I want Emmy, Michaela. That's the rivalry I want to see.
That would be a physically demanding duo. Like like no team would want to go up against those 2 women at once. Like that would be insane. I think that would be like incredible.
It would be so messy and really good. I'm here to see that. So I hope they bring. I want to see Rivals 4. Like I do.
I hear you, Dan, on this one. So Dan here says that, I don't know why, but when Michaela talks, she always sounds like she's going to cry, and that makes him feel bad for her. I hear him, like, because I was feeling bad for Michaela at one point as well. I felt like, this poor girl's getting beaten up here. She's like the underdog, and Michaela always finds herself in these situations as well. In Survivor, in the Challenge here early on, I don't know what it is, but I do want to see her come back and have another opportunity. Now, lastly, I do want to talk about the decision here for Coriel and for Michelle at the end, where they need to choose their new partners. And Michelle says that she's going to go for maybe a little bit more beauty over brawn, and she shocks everyone by choosing Devin. And then we get the little flashback to show Devin was the one sort of pointing like, hey, choose me kind of thing here. I think this was a brilliant move by Michelle to obviously go for the person who actually wants to work with her, opposed to anybody else. Definitely a great move not staying with Corey. And I was fully convinced that Michelle would infiltrate the veterans when she was going to get an opportunity, because she's just too good of a game player not to understand what she needs to do in this situation. What do we think of this Devin-Michelle relationship going forward? And do we think Devin just wanted to one-up to Corey and Fessy to say, hey, I was the first guy picked here when there was an opportunity by it? Or do you think he actually wants to work with Michelle?
I think he actually wants to work with Michelle. He's with Tracy, who he knows Michelle is a winner of Survivor. So she has something. She either has strategy, she did something right, and she got it twice. She's gotten to the end of the game, and that's a very hard game to get to the end too. So I think he knows that to a certain degree, anyways. Like there's a lot of Survivor buzz that was going around with the people in the house. Devin, he wanted to get rid of Tracy, and he wanted to be able to work with somebody that would be willing to strategize with him. He knows that she's from a strategic show, so they can talk strategy together. She's also beautiful. She's very athletic. She just looks like she'd be a good partner. And on her side, like, he's perfect because now she can get in with some of these vets potentially, and she might be able to start working her magic and have an opportunity to like make friends with people. That's one of her strengths, is that she's really great at making relationships. And so I think that it's a perfect duo. And if she wants, like, they get later to the end and she swaps out for a CT to go run the final with, like, that can happen as well. But I think for the time being, I think it's very smart to be choosing Devin. I think it's going to be a good pairing for both of them.
I can see both sides, where Devin wants to get Michelle as the partner. Michelle's looking in the crowd, doesn't know who really wants to work with her, and Devin's the only one like putting up his hand, making eye contact. I don't think it's a good decision though, because they're both brainy. They're like Michelle needs somebody with a bigger build. I mean, we heard Esther talking about how she wanted CT or Fessy because she has the brains, and now she wants the size to like balance out the team. I think it would have worked out maybe better if she would have definitely gotten CT, or maybe even Corey. Corey's always talking about wanting a puzzle queen by his side. I mean, I think you go with any of the vets because they're going to be working together. They're going to have the connections. If you're going to go with anybody with a connection, you're going to go with CT. He's going to be good on the rookie side and the vet side. We've seen him be the pops figure. He has the size. He's got the muscle this season. I mean, I think it would have been a no-brainer for Michelle to be like, I'm just going to go with CT.
But with the new rules, I feel like CT is going to get like drafted often, right? So she may get CT for one daily or two, but like as soon as somebody else wins, they can choose anybody and they could easily choose him. So I think it's going to be somebody that she could work with for a long period of time. They can build their connection and being able to work together. Devin, yeah, he's not the greatest physically, but he has won some eliminations. Like
he's beaten some really good players, and Wes and Johnny Bananas out in the arena. So he's been in some big players and he's won some challenges. But I do hear you, Drew. It's you kind of want your yin to your yang in a partnership combination. And there's so many variables this season. Like people being stolen is a good like you said. I think people like Fessy, or maybe Fessy, maybe not so much, because if people watched last season, they wouldn't want to partner with him. But Corey or your CTs and those guys, they're probably going to get stolen. Devin, I don't think is going to get stolen anytime soon. And I also think Devin is ingratiated enough here with a lot of the other players this year. Like he's actually going to infiltrate and work with Big Brother this season, which is going to be interesting to watch.
I just want to do one rebuttal with the whole everybody stealing CT. If you don't win, you're in danger of always being stolen. Let's just be real. But you get him early. You get some of the inside secrets. He's a champion. He's like really the only guy champion on the cast at the moment. So it's like you get in there, you get into making that good friendship, that good bond early in the game, to maybe if they do be with each other for like 2 to 3 missions and then they get stolen, it's like, okay, well, we still have that bond there. And maybe later on when he gets the opportunity, maybe he'll steal her back. Yeah, I think there's different levels of it all to figure it out. But I just like when Ed came in, looking at the thing, I just like when Ed came in and she was just like, oh, who else is here? And then she just turned around.
Yeah, because it's going to add absolutely no value to her, social game. And the game. So, I mean, that makes sense. But I do think it could be funny to watch and entertaining to watch. Like they said, he might be a bit of a wild man coming in. I don't remember who said it. There was someone that made an observation that said, he's coming in with his long hair, but underneath that, he's going to be a very well-built, strong man that's probably going to give a few people a run for their money this season. I also want to touch on Corey L and his decision to go for Tori here, which I think ultimately could be a good thing for Tori to be moved away from Cal so she can get her head out of the romance side of things, and she's got a partner that she can actually work with here to try and win some challenges. And Corey is someone that we haven't spoken too much about him so far, but I mean, he's come in there and he said that he's got his community on his back, literally like he had the 3 people on his back when he pulled them off that podium. And he said that he wants to prove that they belong in the challenge, and that would be for gay black men to be out there and to do them proud. And I think Corey is the potential. He's the potential to go very, very deep in this game. And I think love her or hate her, Tori is well connected, and she is pretty decent at challenges. So I think this is a really good partnership for them as well. And I think another smart move by the person here that could select someone and infiltrate that veteran alliance.
Was it Tori that was talking? Was it Corey and Tori that were talking in like the pre-show?
Yeah.
So I think that it was kind of like they kind of made a bit of a friendship. And I think that it was smart of him to choose her because they seem to get along. He seems to know the show a lot more than some people do, which is great. She's not my favorite, but she's a decent partner to have. And so I think that it was somebody that wouldn't be mad at him taking them from like the partner that they're with currently. And I think that they could potentially work very well together. So I think it's a good partnership for both of them. And yeah, I agree. Getting Tori's head in the game is probably best for her to do better than she has been in the last few years.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, Tori, we've seen get those like moments of like getting real personal with everyone, kind of like the Leo story that she got in last season's like global activation. I think it was declassified last season. And then this season, she's talking to Corey L about his backstory. I think they connected. I think he's definitely in the know of the show. He's seen seasons. He knows the players, and he knows that she has friends with Anissa in the game. So if he has Tori, he's got Anissa right there and her partner. And also she's in with the podcast. So she has all these like inside stuff. He's asking her for tips before they were even partnered up. So he knew he needed to get a vet. He wants to get somebody well integrated in the game. And Tori is pretty well integrated into the game.
All right, guys, let's get into our draft picks and have a look and see what happened here after week 1. We've had a couple of changes. I've had to draft Ed into the team here. He's going to be replacing Nam in my team, as we sort of mentioned preseason. If there's any medivacs or replacements, that person would automatically replace whoever was selected in the team. I'm gutted to lose Nam because I really wanted to see Nam play this season, but obviously, I'm going to be shouting for my man Ed here moving forward. And we've got another sort of 2 people here that are going to be removed from the equation in Michaela. So Drew, you'll be losing your first person here that will go into the eliminated position. And Renan, Chantal, from your team would be the other person. Now, I know that in the preseason podcast, we said that if someone gets taken out, we'll replace them with the person that's not in. But we can't really do that because there was only one extra person. So you guys are going to lose your extra person here. And then Tracy will remain undrafted. I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think, from what we've seen, she's going to be going very deep this season.
Tracy.
I mean, is she really in the game at the moment? Like,
who's her new
real
partner?
question?
Her new partner is Ed? No,
Kel's, yeah. And Kel's decent, but I mean, yeah, I don't know where she's going to go. So looking at our teams here, we had our top 3 in each of our teams here, or top 4 if we look at our first guy and first female pick even. What do we think the power rankings is for? It's very hard to make any assumptions based off one challenge and off one episode of seeing some political game going on and socializing. It's really hard to sort of get a power ranking of 3 here, but sort of interested. Chantal, who do you think are the 3 people at this stage for you to look out for in the game?
Corey L is going to definitely be up there with how he dominated the lair elimination. Probably Michelle as well. Like, she was there with him. So she might be able to get a bit of a boost there also. Who else was heavily featured? Maybe Emmanuel. He had quite a few confessionals. I feel like we've been following him a little bit. Like, even the fact that he has a relationship with Emmy. Emmy's saying that he's really smart. He's really strategic. He's good with his mind. Like, I do feel that he's been featured a little bit this episode. So those are my 3 for now.
True.
Power rankings. I would have to say that that Corey L was definitely the highlight of this episode for sure. So definitely going to put him there. I want to say that Anissa was definitely doing a lot this episode. She was doing well with her partner. They got first in the challenge. She was interrogating people. She was looking through bags that wasn't hers, which I'm not a fan of, but I think that she definitely got the build this first episode out. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot going on. If we're just doing the top 3 of this episode,
yeah.
I would definitely say Nelson definitely got a good bit this episode as well. He got all of that anger out at Fessy. He was lip smacking with Ashley. So I mean, he's gotten his hand in a couple of cookie jars here this episode. So I mean, it's not just one. And I'm happy they got Priscilla. So that's up on my list.
We didn't talk about the Michelle confessional where she gets put into the lair where she says, "I've got 2 things for you," and she flips the bird. I just think Michelle's been absolutely brilliant so far in this season. I'm a massive Michelle fan. In any case, I was before coming into this show. So I'm a little bit biased here, but Michelle is somewhere in my top 3. Like, I don't know 1, 2, and 3, so I'll just mention 3 people. I think Michelle's had a very strong premiere when it comes to the challenge, and I think she's going to be someone that her social and political game is going to carry her deep into the show. I don't know if she'll ever really win it because she's not really that physical, but I'm here for her being on the show, and I think she's going to bring a lot of additional flavor to this season. Corey L, I've been super impressed by him. Like, I mean, I knew nothing about him. I knew he came from a dating show, didn't understand what his physical capabilities would be. He looks very smart. He looks strategic, getting around some of those young guys, trying to form a new bit of an alliance there that will work together, proven himself. And the challenges, he's not going to go down when he's in the lair. He's not going to go down without a fight. So that's been pretty good to see. And then another person that we haven't mentioned here, and I agree with everyone that you guys have sort of mentioned as well, for some other reason, I also think Priscilla did really well in that first challenge. She was someone that was in the top 2 girls. I think she was first of the girls that got there to pick their partners. And, she's someone that throughout the episode had some really good confessionals as well. So I just feel like she's a potential dark horse in this game as well. Even though a lot of the edit wasn't around her, I feel like she could be a bit of a threat, and she might not be seen as a threat in the game. So going a little bit left field here, I like to do that so we can talk about a few more people. What did you guys think about Priscilla in this episode?
I don't remember her in this episode, really. I feel like I only remember her in the limousine or like the cars coming in the first, like the pre-episode. I don't remember her right now.
She was partnered with Nelson, right, at the end?
Yes, she was.
Yep.
I going off of the global activation and this episode, I just love the vibe that she's giving off. And then she's coming in. I did like how she kind of like called out when she was talking to Emmanuel and Emmy in the car ride. She was like, these people are coming from Survivor. That's impressive. I'm coming from Love Island, where we just kind of like sit in the sun and talk all day. But she's like, I come in here and I want to get my hands dirty. I want to compete. And she's like talking to Kels, who is like talking about ripping people's heads off. I feel like they're getting into the game, and I just feel like I'm getting that that sensation every time she's on the screen or in the confessional, that I'm like, she could definitely be a regular that I would love to see come back over and over again. She's gonna get those, like, she could be like the big T, where she's gonna get the social gathering as more time she comes on to do the show. And then once she has all those numbers and she has that political and social game going, there's no going to be stopping her. So I want to see her keep on coming back, because she just gives me that vibe in the show, and I just want to see her more and more. I loved her on her Love Island season, so I might be a little biased.
I love her too.
Well, it's good. It's good that I'm the one that nominated her then, because I've not seen any of the Love Island seasons. But I agree with you on everything that you've said. I think she's going to be a little bit of an under the radar potential threat to go pretty deep in this game. And like I said, she showed she can do good in the challenges. I think she was the first girl. She just missed Corey, ran past him, and that's why Corey ended up getting stolen. So we'll have to see what happens throughout the rest of the season. So guys, it's been great talking about the first episode here for the challenge 37. This is going to be a great season. I can already tell. I'm really excited about it. Love the spy music as well, that went on throughout the whole show. So many good things that we could have talked about here, but overall, very, very excited. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 2, which is going to be great as well. And going around the table here, Chantal, what do you have coming up? I see you've got your channel Reality Realness in your name tag there as well. What do you have coming up over the next week?
I have a ton of things coming up, but I can't believe talk about today about Devin presenting the birthday cake to Michelle and to Logan. I just wanted to put that out there, because it made me laugh. It was super funny. He's wearing
sock being thrown in Michelle's face.
Maybe that was the sex appeal that made her really want to pick Devin as her partner. Like, I can get all that. Like, give me that slice.
Esther's reaction to what the hell is this? And she can't even put it into words. It's brilliant.
Exactly. So I just wanted to make sure that Devin got his moment there, because I did appreciate his cake presentation. Reality Realness, we're wrapping up with Love Island USA. So tomorrow and Monday will be the last 2 episodes that we're going to be doing, recapping the season. And then Bachelor in Paradise is starting on Monday, so we'll be doing a little bit of that. Obviously, Wednesday after the episode, me and my 2 friends will be talking about the challenge. And then Saturdays with Sarah from Nerdtainment, we talk about Survivor South Africa on her channel. So I'm around. I'm probably doing and Big Brother every day after the episode. I'm probably doing more. I don't remember. What day is it today?
I should be asking, what don't you cover, Chantal?
I'll be on Rob's podcast on Wednesday doing the live feed updates. Here you go.
Nice. Drew, what do you have coming up? I know you've been pretty busy with your content for the challenge.
Yeah, I actually looked at my Instagram and looked at all the thumbnails I've done, and I've just done so much covering this season alone that I haven't really done anything else on other seasons, but that's coming up very soon. Right now, I'm just covering the challenge. I'm doing a lot for that. So I just did the Global Activation review and recap, and then also this first episode's review and recap and Tiny Table Talk. And I'm going to be doing that again next week on Angel Cake Entertainment. And then I'll be coming out with new videos on older seasons of the challenge. I can't wait to get into those and just start commentating and critiquing old seasons, because that's what I love to do.
And I think that's
Awesome.
why
Looking
I'm
forward to it.
loving this season so much is that it has the energy of an old season. It could be because they put them in this nice mansion and everybody's looking gorgeous and bikinis and drinks and like, so it's like everybody's having a good time, but it's like everything under the surface is like bubbling. So like that's the frenetic energy that we love about the challenge. And I feel like they brought that back this season. So that's why I'm really looking forward to it. It has like an old school energy.
Fingers
Yes,
crossed
please.
that it remains as long as possible. So lastly, I am covering Survivor South Africa on the channel. So I will be back live in the next 40 minutes to talk about the latest episode of Survivor South Africa Immunity Island. And we'll have our exit interview available tomorrow as well. And then keep an eye out for Wednesday. I won't say who it was. Keep an eye out for Wednesday, where we will be doing our coverage of the next week of Australian Survivor as well. I'm starting to lose track. I think it's the 5th week that we're going into there, and we're doing 3 episodes at a time. So it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of content dropping at the moment. So if you want to follow us again or listen to the next episode recap here on Reality Pop for the challenge and with the challenge insiders, we will be back live next Friday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's going to be our normal regular time slot that will be coming live to you guys every week. And we'll be looking forward to having all you guys in the live chat again. Thank you for everybody that was in the live chat commenting throughout. We couldn't get to all of the comments, but we really appreciate you guys. And we'll see you next week.